made a post yesterday, I believe, about schizophrenia and the ways that we look at mental illness, in particular the Western world in this country. I got a lot of decent feedback. A lot of people are on sniffing what I'm putting down. They've already been aware of the way that we treat mental illness in the Western world is very archaic. It's very cold. It's very patriarchal, if you will. My whole point with posting this was to get people to think outside of the box with the ways that we classify and or treat mental illness, was the ways that we diagnose mental illness. And my main reason for this is the fact that in other countries and other parts of the world, the ways that people with mental illness are treated are much different. They're not treated, they're not locked up away from society. And a lot of them don't even call it mental illness. A lot of them call it spiritual disturbance. A lot of them call it shaman sickness, the birth of a healer, and things can go, it's like an enlightenment period that can go many different ways. This doesn't just have to do with schizophrenia, it also can do with bipolar disorder and whatnot. I know my job here on this planet is to make large headway within our mental health industry and break it past what we have. We are very much slowed down, infantile, not progressive, devolved even, if you will, in the state of understanding mental illness, at least in the Western world. In my opinion, the Western world does not have the full scope of mental illness. The ways that we treat mental illness is very archaic, very wrong, very patriarchal. Like I said, there are many different ways that other countries and other folk deal with mental illness or spiritual disturbance or mental disturbance. That's all I'm saying. I'm not telling anyone to stop taking your medicine. I'm not telling anyone to stop seeing your therapist. If what you're doing works for you, stay with that. No one is saying anything other than, maybe mental illness is a lot more than we're taught about. Maybe mental illness is what we're calling mental illness is really just this high sensitivity that we have no idea how to measure yet. So we're keeping these people locked in because we don't know how to handle this level of intense high energy. And I did call it high genius, levels of high genius or high intelligence or high empathy. These are highly sensitive beings. When I think of mental illness, I think of the spectrum of a highly sensitive person. I think of spiritual gifts. I think of psychic abilities. I think of spiritual possessions. I think of hijacks. I think of things like exorcisms. I think of things like demonic possession, entity possession, things like that. Things using the body as a host. I think of all of that. I'm very well versed with how mental illness is looked at internationally. I don't have a very Western world mind, which is why I don't make a lot of sense to a lot of the Western world people until later on, until they start their evolutionary journey a lot more. I make a lot more sense to the people in the East. I make a lot more sense to the yogis. I make a lot more sense to people that have studied Hinduism, that understand other spiritual ways of living that are not anything close to the Western world. So my aim and game here is just for people to start thinking outside of the box so that we can progress the field of mental illness and mental health a lot better. Because if you look around in our country and our world right now, the mental health crisis is insane and it's mad. And there's a way to solve it. There's a way to look at it. And it's not just labeling and medicating, in my opinion. But if that works for you, do what works for you. No one is saying get off your medication. No one is saying you're too good for the medication. No one is saying that medication is bad. I'm saying, how about we move past the limited understanding and belief systems and dogma that we have around the understanding that we have with mental illness. That's it. And mental disturbances. That's it. Because in my strong opinion and belief, when we are talking about mental illness, we are talking about highly sensitive people that have extreme gifts that we don't even know how to measure. Our science has not caught up with these people yet. I think a lot of people that have autism are highly genius. I think a lot of people that have Asperger's are also highly genius. Not everyone, and their genius might be excelled in different levels that might not make sense to you. They're here to create new pathways. Okay, and this is not to say, the mentally ill should be running the world. No, I'm just saying it is a key into something deeper. They are keys into something deeper that are outside of a draconian system. Our draconian system, which is the founder of our healthcare system in the Western world, which makes money off of people. If people are healthy, they're not making money. So of course they want you to be a victim to a label of mental illness, because then you're going to be a customer for life. You can't be normal without this medication. You're schizophrenic. You're bipolar. You can't live without this bottle of pills. That's what the draconian system wants. And if you want to subject to that, that is all your free will to do so. But my power and my gift and my understanding here is to break past that draconian system and understanding, because I have seen and witnessed so much, not only in this life, but so many other of my lives have been revolved around healing the mentally sick, healing the mentally impaired. This life, I have been around the mentally handicapped, the mentally impaired since I was a child, because I resonate and I understand them without even speaking. It's just this lingo that we have. I can connect to highly sensitive souls. I'm a psychic medium. And my first job that I ever wanted was to work in a psych ward. So I have a strong affinity for understanding mental illness. I can see demons. I can feel demons physically. I can feel the fractures in the system that have taken place. I can also see implants. I can see frequency cages that are around people's minds. Like, we don't know. Every case is different. And that's one other thing. Not everyone has the same diagnosis. You might have two bipolar people and they have completely different experience and completely different symptoms, completely different things that brought them to that state of bipolar, which is really just like having an understanding of two different realities and not really being able to keep that in balance, because they're seeing a different dimension. They're like, oh shit, what is this? And it kind of makes them go wonky. This is also can be brought on by psychedelics. This can be brought on by spiritual awakenings. When we start to see, but sometimes seeing beyond the veil is too much for people. That's why we need to have these spiritual ascension centers that are teaching people about their spiritual gifts, that are teaching people how to utilize their spiritual gifts, that are teaching people how to expand their psychic wisdom. There needs to be centers, there needs to be schools. Yes, we've had mystery schools since the beginning of time, since Egyptian times, we have had mystery schools. But these things need to be more common day things so that people know what's going on with them. Our planet is going through an ascension process. We are ascending along with our planet. We're either ascending with it or we're descending. We're either growing or we're not growing. And this whole, I'm not going to keep quiet because what I'm saying is making people uncomfortable. Our planet right now is surrounded by extraterrestrial intelligence. I keep finding out about more and more comments that we have surrounding Earth right now. And all I'm getting is humanity has to break past their limited beliefs. They have to break past these archaic systems, and we are being so supported by it. I'm one of the people, I'm one of the first waivers for this that is going to be speaking about things that might be uncomfortable to people because it's new, but it needs to be said because these systems need to crumble for good, and we need to liberate humanity. We need to liberate the hearts and the minds of humanity. We cannot keep them under these labels. We cannot keep them in this system that is keeping them small. We want to grow and evolve to become our highest versions, and we cannot do that going under these little labels and wanting it. A lot of y'all want to stay victims, and you don't want to grow. And you're going to do that. You're going to keep hitting that karmic wall and karmic loop until you understand, maybe everything I've been told is a lie. Maybe I need to start thinking outside the box. Maybe I need to start connecting to God. Not everything is what meets the eye. That's all I'm trying to say.